Vover. What's up, everybody? It's Daniel Cormier. I am joining you from the beautiful Holiday Inn and Suites in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I have got victim number one on Debate DC. This is Cameron Griffith from Atlanta, Georgia. And let me tell you something. In the process of getting to where we are right now, we learned that Cameron is not only very smart, he's very well versed in his beliefs in regards to these subjects, right? I didn't disagree wholeheartedly on everything, but there was one that stood out to me, which leads us to where we are today. And Cameron, on Vover, you said, and I will open the floor to you, 3 people are very overrated. And the third one was the one that knocked me on my back, knocked my socks off. So Cameron, would you walk through the message?
Yes, sir. The number one most overrated fighter in UFC history is George St-Pierre.
I mean, Cameron, George St-Pierre, we are talking about literally a man that is considered by many the greatest martial artist of all time. He personifies and exemplifies martial arts, the code, everything that the fight game stands for. He's not only that, he's also a champion. So Cameron, tell me what this debate is rooted in. Where do you say, George, stop. Actually, you know what? Go back to the first two. You said Nick and Nate Diaz are very overrated also.
Yes.
My question in regards to those two is why? Because it's not like everybody's saying that they're champions of the world. People are saying that they love the Diaz brothers. Very rarely do you hear people saying, Cameron, Nate Diaz is the best fighter in the world. You don't hear that. You don't hear that Nick Diaz is the best fighter in the world. So how are you overrated when people aren't putting you on a pedestal in terms of your skill?
Yeah, so I kind of use the Diaz brothers to kind of bait you in.
Okay.
Regarding the UFC 266, they are definitely high on the overrated list.
But how? But Cameron, how? When I'm not telling you they're the best in the world, I'm telling you they're exciting. I'm telling you that they're fan favorites. How in the world are they overrated if we're not saying that they're the best fighters in the world? It seems like they're fit into a nice pocket where people respect them for their skills, but they're more entertaining and they're stars above all. So how are they overrated?
Well, saying that they're stars is definitely debatable. And also, their skill set is debatable. That their entertainment is debatable. They're always being rewarded with high-profile fights. They're always gifted big opportunities. We have Nate Diaz, who is coming off of multiple losses, and he gets a number one contenders bout with Leon Edwards. How is that possible? What fighter can almost die in the octagon against Jorge Masvidal and then come back and get a number one contenders bout against a guy who most people argue should have been fighting for the title anyways?
No, listen. I think this points to the star ability of Nathan Diaz, because if you're Leon Edwards, you don't fight anybody, Cameron. You don't go in there with just some random guy. If you don't get the best guy, if you don't get the champion, Nate Diaz is 1A. He's the biggest draw in the weight class. He's the guy. That's why you hear the champion Kamaru Usman calling for Nathan Diaz when Nathan Diaz isn't even one of the top 10 guys in the world.
And I say that his star ability is debatable because you never see Dana put him out on the limb to sell pay-per-views. He always pairs him up with another big fight. So saying that he's a draw and he has star ability is still debatable.
It's not. Cameron, it's not debatable. Cameron, it's not debatable. Cameron, they released a countdown show the other day. Valentina Shevchenko's title fight in 24 hours had 60,000 views on YouTube. Ortega versus Volkanovski had 140,000 views. You want to know what Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler had? 1 million in 24 hours. Numbers don't lie, my friend. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great fight they paired up Robbie Lawler against. This is a great fight. And also you have the intrigue of the return. I mean, Diaz has been out for going on 6 years. So It is a big fight, but I say we take the meat, we take the bulk of this debate over the GSP. That's what I came here for.
I mean, that's ultimately where I was going to go next, right? I was giving him the appetizer because as of right now, I've legitimately smacked you around for about 3 minutes, Cameron. You're saying everything. Cameron, you're saying everything.
It ends here.
Cameron, you're saying everything's debatable because you don't have a response to the things I'm telling you. So you got me here right now. So lay it out to me. Tell me how a guy that has so many title defenses, who went into the Hall of Fame just yesterday, is overrated in your books. First ballot Hall of Fame.
Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I love GSP. I love what he stands for. I respect the man. He's using his platform and his star power to push the sport in the right direction. GSP is one of the untouchables. You don't talk about GSP. You don't say anything bad about GSP. But I'm here to tell you, due to his lack of finishing ability, his weak resume, and the fact that he ran from adversity, it makes it hard for me to even put him in my top 5.
Wait, in terms of all-time greatest fighters of all time, you don't have George St-Pierre. You don't have George St-Pierre in the top 5.
No, sir, not even in the top 7.
Oh, Cameron, you're out of your mind. Who do you have?
Let's say this is a job and you're the boss. And I say, hey, I'm applying for the greatest fighter of all time. Here's my resume. And I present to you a resume with the names of Frank Triek, Sean Shirk, and Dan Hardy. Am I getting the job? I'm not getting that job, DC.
Cameron, you get the job when you put those names on top of 2-time welterweight champion, interim welterweight champion, 8 title defenses, middleweight champion, one of only a few people to have ever held belts in 2 weight classes. Not only I really believe that this no finish thing is overstated, right? Because even when George St-Pierre wasn't finishing people, George St-Pierre was not only dominating, but George St-Pierre, at a time where there weren't 5 of the night bonuses, was getting fight of the night bonuses. He had those 4 times. John Fitch, Josh Koscheck, Condit, Johnny Hendricks. You saw him fight Johnny Hendricks in a blood and guts war and show how tough and durable he is. When you were getting these fight of the nights, very rarely do you get a fight of the night when you are dominating in the way that George St-Pierre dominated Koscheck and John Fitch. So it shows you how good he is. The knockout of Matt Hughes. He got submission tonight against Matt Hughes. We're talking about a guy that was not only winning fights, racking up bonuses. Remember against Michael Bisping, another performance of the night. I think it's time that you really put some respect on George St-Pierre's name, because you say you love him, but it sounds like you hate him.
I love GSP. Love him. If I saw him tomorrow, I'd buy him a steak. I'm gonna use something you alluded to in a broadcast that I've been saying for the longest to show you why GSP is not in the GOAT conversation. You said that the athletes of old are not as good as the athletes of new. As time evolves, we came from a spot in MMA back in UFC 1 where it was striker versus wrestler. It was one discipline versus one discipline. As the era started to shift, people started to get 2 disciplines. And now we're at a point where if you don't have all the disciplines mastered, you're not even a contender. So GSP reigned in an era that was still growing. So let me pose this question to you, DC. If you take prime GSP, whatever that looks like to you,
and put him in there today,
and put him in the UFC's welterweight division today, I would make the statement that he would not touch UFC gold. I would make the statement, if you stuck GSP, hear me out, DC. If you stuck GSP with his prime skill set in the thick of the welterweight division, he does not touch gold in his career.
Beat him? Who's gonna beat him?
Who will beat him?
Maybe Kamaru Usman. I mean,
it's not hard to look unstoppable when you're decisioning Dan Hardy and you're fighting you're fighting lightweights.
Cameron,
fighting Sean Turk and BJ Penn, who are lightweights.
Cameron, you are talking about a time where skills were limited. That's not 2012, 14, 2018. George St-Pierre won that second belt in like 2017, man. It's not like he fought in 2004 and 5. He beat Michael Bisping, who's the middleweight champion, by beating Luke Rockhold. George St-Pierre would be fine today because George St-Pierre was the first to have the complete skill set. George St-Pierre was the first to change the game. George St-Pierre was the guy that combined everything. That's why he was able to dominate in the way that he did. George would be fine in today's welterweight division. And I think, Cameron,
I wholeheartedly disagree, sir.
Cameron, he might be the champ right now. He might be the champion. He is the only guy that has a skill set to challenge Kamaru Usman, because as Usman continues to evolve, you have to evolve with him. And George St. Pierre showed at every turn that he has that ability.
Well, now let me ask you this. Now, going back to the eras, as you've seen when that GSP Dan Hardy era started to close, and that Johnny Hendricks, Tyron Woodley, Robbie Lawler started to evolve, and he fought Johnny Hendricks, what happened? As that new era started to show itself, he crumbled. He lost that fight, and he
won the fight.
He lost that fight.
Cameron, that's the thing, Cameron. Everybody talks about he lost the fight. Sure, he lost the fight. Sure, you think that, but the people that judged the fight scored the victory for George St. Pierre. It was the way it worked, and there are a number of fights where the judging is on the wrong side, but ultimately in the record books, George St. Pierre defended, and I believe that it was a case of him being completely burned out, and also fans. The expectation that George St. Pierre carried into the octagon was so much more heavy than anybody else, because him winning wasn't enough anymore. He had to finish people. I believe that that's the only negative that you guys hold on to in regards to his career, and that ain't enough, because when you're a first ballot Hall of Famer and you are the most skilled martial artist of all time to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, hands down, you are not overrated. Cameron, listen.
If you are a true champion, and that fight against Johnny Hendricks went the way it did, why not ask for an immediate rematch?
He won the fight.
He vacated the belt. Dana White called him out of the press conference and said, you owe it to this division and this belt to defend it and give Johnny Hendricks that rematch. And he ran in hiding for 4 years. And we all know he would have never came out had Michael Bisping not had that 185-pound.
Oh my God.
If Yoel Romero, Chris Weidman had that belt, he would have never came out of hiding.
Cameron, let me tell you one thing.
One more question for you.
Okay, this is the last one, because as we start to wrap, I feel like you're grasping for straws here, because now we're playing Cameron. Because now we're playing what ifs. Because Cameron, now we're trying to play what ifs. What if this guy was this? But he wasn't. The champion was Michael Bisping.
Dana White stated they had a deal. If GSP wins the belt, he's to defend it against the next contender. GSP came up with an excuse to vacate the belt and retire.
So ultimately, what you're telling me, you're actually trying to change the argument. What you're telling me now is not that GSP is overrated. You're essentially calling GSP a coward. You're saying GSP is scared. That's what you're debating at this point.
And it sounds that way. No.
That's exactly what you're doing.
What I'm saying is in a bigger picture is the next question I'm asking you. GSP never fought a fight at which he didn't have all the advantages. He had weight advantage, height advantage, reach advantage, experience advantage. He never went into a fight against a real threat where he had to give up something. The first time he fought a guy that was his size and his weight as Johnny Hendricks, we saw what happened.
Cameron,
tell me the fight.
Cameron, the
GSP
only reason,
GSP was building his resume off a 145 in BJP.
Cameron, the only reason he had the advantages was because he was better than everybody. You're missing it. It's not that he didn't choose the advantage. He was better than everybody. So when you put him in there with a guy where he had the wrestling advantage, he's got the wrestling advantage.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I said he reigned over a growing division. The division hadn't turned the corner yet. The athletes of old, those guys were the best they had to offer. He did the best he could with what he was given. But his current resume, if I slide it on your desk and say, hey, DC, here's my resume. I want to be the GOAT of MMA. Does this get me the job? The answer is no.
Okay, Cameron, as we wrap here, I will tell you right now, I'm buying everything George St-Pierre is selling. I'm buying his resume. I'm buying the title defenses, the finishes, the wins, the 2 belts, the Hall of Fame. I'm buying everything GSP. And guess what else I'm buying? I'm buying the show Debate DC, and I'm buying the fact that I'm 1-0. I'm 1-0 in debate right now.
No, sir. No, sir.
Cameron, I cannot wait to release.
If we can pull our emotion out of it and simply think with logic here, okay, GSP is not the GOAT.
Cameron, I respect your willingness to dive on the sword and live with the opinion. The wrong opinion, but I do respect your ability to live with the ridiculous opinion but guess what? He is definitely one of the GOATs, and I'm buying everything that George St-Pierre is selling. Hey, Cameron, thank you. You are very well spoken. You are very well researched. The reality is, you came up here, you got smacked around, just like some of my title defenses, but it's okay. Thank you for joining me, man. And everybody that listens, thank you guys for watching. Hey, maybe next time you can sit in the chair and get smacked around by me like Cameron just did on Debate DC. So download the Vover app, send your questions in, we'll pick and choose, and maybe it'll be you next on Debate DC. Until next time, though, peace, we're out.